Hi, my name is Brandon Contreras, and I attended Pace University's musical theater program from 2008 until 2012. My sister got me into musical theater. She got me into singing, really. Everything performing I owe to her and to my family. We were always musical. I grew up on Disney movies and Disney songs. And when we moved from New York to suburban New Jersey, we went to a school that offered musicals and musical theater programs and classes and shows and after-school programs. And my sister had become a part of that. So I became a part of that too because I wanted to do everything that she did. And she went off to high school and she performed in these high school musicals. And I remember going to watch her rehearsals and watch her shine. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do theater. This is it. I can't do anything else. This has to be it. So that is how I got started with musical theater and knew that this was what I was going to do. I had to do it. There was no other option. It was something so beautiful watching these people tell so many stories on stage in different ways and lights and music and costumes and oh wow, it's just spectacular. Performing ultimately to me means truth, honesty, transformation, storytelling, which I think it's really funny that I'm here talking about all this stuff and my truth. And when I was picking schools and I had realized that I wanted to go to school for performing arts, for acting, musical theater, anything, I needed to go to a city. I was like, I need to get back to New York. This is it. My family's there, my aunts, my cousins, my grandparents, everyone is there. It's the hub of musical theater, which is the only thing I wanted to focus on at that time. I was like, it's there. I have to get back. I made sure that I only applied to 3 schools. They were the only ones. One was University of the Arts in Philadelphia. One was Montclair, because it was an in-state school and it was very affordable for me. And then the last was Pace University, which was the most expensive option, hands down. And it was in the city of my dreams. Like, I needed to go back there. And that was a hard decision because my sister had graduated before me in high school, and she also wanted to go to school for theater as well. She auditioned and she got waitlisted, she got into some places, but we didn't have any money at that time. So my sister, the person who got me into these dreams, could not go to the school that she wanted to go to. So she went to the school that gave her the most money. And so me making this decision now, and it was my turn, we were a little better off, so I had a better option to choose the school that I wanted to go to. And I got into all 3 schools. And, you know, there was this pressure to go to Montclair because it was the most affordable. And I was like, it sounds like a great program, but I don't want to be across the river. I can't be here. I can't stay here. I need to be, it's across the river, but it's not in my city. So I needed to go to Pace. And we made it work through financial aid, student loans, parental loans, and that decision was made. And it was very clear, and we were all on board, and we were actually all excited. And it was like I was finally going back. I was going back home. That was it. Boom, I'm back. Wow, when I auditioned for Pace, I was so excited. It was like the energy was tangible. Everyone was excited there. It was New York City, people were rushing about. And I remember being so nervous because I was doing my spring musical and I was like, I'm gonna sing something for my spring musical and this is gonna be great. And I really wanna show them what I got. And it was exciting, so many different kinds of people. So many different kinds of people, different like shades, colors. I was very overweight at that time. So when I was in high school and when I went to college, I was about 110 pounds heavier than I am now, easily. So I was, as much as I'm a loud, exuberant, like person, I was very self-conscious, very aware of my space in the room and how it affected other people. Very aware on how I tuck my shirt, how this looks, how that looks. And going there, I feel like I went in and kind of like no one was looking, no one cared. It was really exciting. Current students were helping us through the audition process. They were leading us to the door. And finally we were auditioning in the big theater, the Schimmel Center. And I just remember prancing down. We used to joke about it that I just pranced on down, like down the big steps, because I was just a big jolly guy. And I got up there, and with my like high-pitched voice, I was like, I'm gonna sing "If I Can't Love Her" from Beauty and the Beast, which is this like bass baritone like song. And I got up there and I sang and I danced, and they asked to hear another song, and I did it, and it was kind of exciting. I was on a stage auditioning, which was really cool for me, but just the energy of that day was so exciting. I was like in the city, and then I was gonna go see my grandma later. Like it was all very casual. It was all very casual. I was like, I'm here, this is it. Let's go. I can't imagine myself not here. It was wild. I could not imagine myself not here. Like, I could imagine myself in Philly, could imagine myself in New Jersey. Like, this was it. This was the school. This was it. The day I got accepted, I was home in New Jersey, and I had received a phone call on my phone. And we have no service in my house back home, like in New Jersey, no service. So I get a call from New York, and it's Amy Rogers, the head of the program, and she calls me personally to tell me something. And I can't because I'm breaking up, and I'm like, oh, hold on 1 second. I'm like in the house, I'm like, oh God, no. And I run outside, and I'm in the middle of the street of my neighborhood. And she's like, I just want to let you know that you've been accepted into Pace's musical theater program, class of 2012. Like, you're in. And I remember just screaming in the middle of my neighborhood, just in the street with my cell phone, just like, yeah, like running, jumping, everything. It was the most exciting, one of the most exciting acceptance offers I ever received from any gig, anything. Just the stakes couldn't be higher. I was ready to see how far I can push myself into theater, into musical theater, into anything that encompassed performing arts, because I didn't see any representation of myself. I didn't see leading Latin men on Broadway that looked like me. There were Latin men on Broadway, but they were white passing. I was like, well, if I go there, maybe I can be the first. Maybe I can do that. Maybe I can be the first, like one of the first, like few leading Latin men of Broadway that is not white passing, respectfully so. But I also hadn't seen myself really represented. So I was like, I need to go to the school artistically. I can do this. And personally, I wanted to be free. I was in New Jersey. I had only come out as gay at the time to my best friends and my mom and my sister. And I was ready to meet people like me. Queer people, gay people, anyone like me. When I was in New Jersey, there wasn't much diversity, hands down. So I was like, I'm going back to the city. We good. Like, I'm gonna find people like me. I wanna find me gente, like we're good. So once I got accepted into Pace University, I thought I was going to fill this prophecy, that I was gonna do whatever I wanted to do. The sky's the limit, that was it. Little did I know that the idea and prophecy that I had was not the same as theirs. We were not on the same page. The entire time I felt mishandled, used as a prop, used as their good little Latin boy. I felt like so unspecial. So unspecial. And going back now, thinking about the motto of what Pace was, is that we pride ourselves in individuality. We're not like this other school that makes cookie cutters and knocks out all these overall artists that look the same, dress the same, talk the same. I thought I was going to come out like an individual Like, this is me, like, a whole, fully fleshed human and performer. This was not the case. I feel like freshman year feels like a big blur. I got there and I was like ready to take on by storm. I was like, this is it. Boom, got it. And then the first show I did was Carousel, and I played a 70-year-old man, Mr. Bascombe, and I was shook. I was shook. Remember, I was still a large boy. Like, I was getting into my voice. Like, everything was great. And so I was Mr. Bascombe. One of my best friends and soon-to-be roommates was like understudy Billy Bigelow. It was a huge deal. He was a freshman too. He'll come up later, but the entire process was so fascinating. It was wild to be in a show your freshman year, even if I'm, walking by with Billy Bigelow with a gold watch saying like, hey, look at the time. Like, it was all very wild. So that freshman year just kind of passed me, and I was just kind of getting to know myself and to know my classmates around me. So sophomore year happens, and the show that has been announced was going to be City of Angels, a book by Larry Gilbert, music and lyrics by Cy Coleman and David Zappel. I was auditioning for Stone. He was very film noir, very handsome, sly, debonair. These are all things that are said on the breakdowns of these characters. And his voice part was great for me, and I was like, this is it. I'm ready. And there were two problems with that plan. One, that role was notoriously played by a white man. And two, there was already a Latina character in the show. The character's name was Lieutenant Munoz. And I have a huge problem with this show, particularly that character, because that character is not only the antagonist, but his heritage, his ethnicity, and his culture is used as a joke in the show. There's nothing wrong with having an accent in the show. It's actually quite incredible to speak two languages. There's nothing about that. But it's the context of the song that he sings, All You Have to Do Is Wait, where he says lyrics like, you're about to take a big siesta stone, but don't request a padre. Rest assured that I'll say mass. Try a final meal of tacos on a plate of beans mañana. Odds are they are gonna give you gas. And it was the only character in the show that used its ethnicity and culture as a joke, as a gimmick, as the laugh line, as the punchline. And I had a problem with that. And I had no interest of doing that. Did not want it. Munoz's descriptions on these breakdowns were, and these are straight from breakdowns online, it's like harsh, Mexican, Mexican-American, accent, Mexican, Latinx, antagonist, bitter, tough, cop. And then they go on more like Mexican accent, Latin accent. Like, these are literally all of the adjectives that they use in these breakdowns. And then I go to Stone and I'm like, handsome, suave, sly, confused, like. So needless to say, I was auditioning for Stone, and that's what I had set my sights on. We get there to auditions. They made me do the scene for Munoz, even though I did not want to, and I did it. I did it once with someone. I did it, done. I was like, great, let me get that out of my system. And then I was getting called in for Stone, along with my best friend at the time. He was a white classmate, and this classmate, he was the golden boy at Pace University. His freshman year, he understudied and performed as Billy Bigelow in Carousel. I mean, he has the most gorgeous voice I've ever heard in my life. He was kind, considerate, empathetic, and everyone loved him. And I was up against him, and this was a huge deal. I was like, I'm up against you? Oh, okay, great. And then I'm in it, let's do it. And we got there, and it was me and him back and forth for Stone. It was like all night. And it was me and him with two other white females for the leading ladies. And we're reading the scenes, and they're mixing us back and forth, and it was very exciting. I was like, holy shit, I got a shot. Okay, like, this is it. This is what I came here to do. I came here to play this role, roles like these. So the golden boy of our school really didn't have any problems. And like many other of the white males in our class, they just kind of did it. They made it happen, and everyone loved them, especially if you were straight. If you were straight, you're gold, baby. That was a huge thing. Or if you can straight pass, whatever the hell that means. So he had gotten everything that he kind of wanted already. They all loved him. The cast list comes out the next day, and he is Stone, and I am Lieutenant Munoz. And I was just kind of shocked. I was like, huh. Okay, so that means I've done something wrong. That means I did something wrong. That means as an artist, I probably wasn't what they wanted. I need to work harder. Like, I need to act better. I need to do something. I need to look more manly. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking at that time when I was 18, 19. So I was like, let me go to Amy's office. I'll go to Amy's office and I'll go talk to her about it, get some feedback. So I go to her office and I talk to her. I'm like, hey, Amy, thank you for casting me. I just wanted to know any feedback that I could do to be better. I really thought I had a chance to be Stone. I mean, it was between me and him, and I really thought I did well, but if there's anything that I can work on to be better or do better. She looks at me and she goes, Brandon, you were never gonna get Stone. I was like, huh? She's like, you were never gonna get Stone, because then who would play Munoz? Who else could play Lieutenant Munoz? And I'll call my friend X. But she said this to me. She goes, we only had you in for callbacks, so X could feel what it feels like to have some competition. He needs to know what that will be like for him. And it was at that moment that I realized that I was not going to have the same education as my friend, as my white counterpart. My body was used as a tool for training for my white friend, for my white colleague, for my white artist. And it had nothing to do with what I brought to the table. It only had to do with they needed a Latin guy for this project, and this is what they were gonna get. I was a training tool. There, I kind of start unraveling to see, it's kind of like you peek behind the curtain and you start looking back and you're like, what is this really about? And I'm starting to see everything around me. I'm starting to see toxic relationships in my class where these elite groups have formed of the people that have become favorites, calling themselves a group and pushing us out, the people who didn't get the pushing people out who didn't get the attention from Amy. And it started unraveling, knowing that I was not going to get the same money's worth as my white friend. And everything kind of started unraveling around there. Doing City of Angels rehearsals, I have to sing the song that I hate to sing, lyrics that I find offensive, and I was used as a laugh line. And you know what? I was good. I did my job. That sucks. I did my job. She even put, we had 2 other Latine people in the cast who were white passing, and they were my backup. And then she added another white person to the trio and put a brown wig on them and said, you guys look the same. It'll work. And that's how we sang the song. And that's how I sang the song. And I shut up and did my job. And I watched my best friend really do an incredible job at the role. But I was just thinking like, okay, so not my shot, not my turn. Okay. I just didn't know when it was going to be my turn or what I was going to learn. So going forward, I was like, this is my shot. Okay, what can I work on? And we were doing a Pace New musical, which is between the semesters of winter and spring. Students are allowed to stay in the dorms for a few weeks to work on a new musical by an outsourced composer, book writer, lyricist. And we workshop this, and we put on a loose reading staged workshop. So this musical was Quanah, written by Larry Gatlin of Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin Brothers. And they are a famous, award-winning white country rock band. And it was kind of exciting. Everyone was thrilled to do it. Everyone didn't know what it was about. Someone exciting and new and famous was going to be joining us. So the story of Quanah is about Quanah Parker, who was the last chief of the Comanche tribe and nation. Written by Larry Gatlin, a white man. And I was told that I needed to audition for this. You need to come in for this. There are no ifs, ands, or buts. You need to come in. So already I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I get there. And even in auditions, they had written musically war cries. These were not actual war cries done by the Comanche tribe and nation. These were made up. They did not do their homework. And I would have to be in this audition yelling, Yahé, Yahé, in all of like different ways and in ways that they thought sounded authentic to the Native American experience. And I just signed along and I said, okay. And I got the role of Quanah Parker. And I was like, oh my God, I'm the title of the show. This is it. This is my shot. No. So this story was not about Quanah Parker. This story was about Cynthia Ann Parker, a white woman, a white young girl who was kidnapped by the Comanche tribe when she was a little girl and raised to be a part of the Comanche nation. She was married to Pete Nakona, and together they had Quanah Parker. Quanah Parker was known to have been a part of two societies, the traditional Comanche and the white society, and he was a perfect blend of both. And ask me if there was any consultation with any Native American tribe, historian, dramaturg about the authenticity of what we were doing on that stage. Any lyric we sang. The answer's fucking no. No, not at all. And we were all culprits. All of us. So I'm just sitting there like, unpacking this, sitting there knowing that there were only a few Indigenous people in this cast. We also had a lot of white people in the cast playing Native American roles. All of them. They just flop back and forth. When you were on stage in this point, you were a Native American, and then when you were there, you were white. It was just so loosely based. And the thing about this, and why people combat this, is because it's a new musical, it's a workshop. We are just trying to find the content. We're trying to see if this lives as a story. You can't do that when you're telling an authentic Native American story about a nation, about a people that actually existed. You can't just have white people scream Yahé and be like, that's a war cry. I think that's a war cry. That's it. That's not it. It's irresponsible. And we did it. And the funny thing is that I sat back and I came in on Act 2 and I said, hey, I'm a grown-up Quanah Parker. What's up? And it was not about me. It was about the white narrative. It was about Cynthia Ann Parker and James Parker, her brother. How irresponsible it was to not only lead a program, but also direct this reading about a nation, a culture that you do not know, you're not doing the research for, you're not educating the students about, and then also on top of that, have white students play these roles and say it's okay. It's fine, it's for learning opportunity. And then to exclusively cast, like make sure you grab every single Latine, anyone who would look Native American is what she did. Grab everyone, put us in the cast, and say like, this is good enough, right? They look close enough. It was so irresponsible. You're the leader of a program. You're a leader of a program. What you doing? That experience, to this day, is something that I deeply regret. I feel like I was gaslighted into what the experience was. And I met incredible people on it, and incredible mentors and writers on that who are good people, but just had no business doing that there at that time. Or ever. And that was hard to look back on as an adult. I was thinking, what was I doing? What did I learn? I wasn't doing what I came here to do. I wasn't being truthful. I wasn't being an honest storyteller. I wasn't being authentic. I wasn't really leading a show. They were telling me how to stand still. That was something. They told me how to pump my chest out, be more chief-like. Oh my God. Those are words used. Be more chief-like. Please tell me what it's like to be a chief. Please. The disrespect on a nation, on a culture, on a heritage. No, that was only a small workshop reading. What are you doing? I feel like at this point, with everything that was happening, I feel like I was being groomed to be their indigenous Latin boy. That was it. I felt like this was my purpose here at Pace University, because they didn't have anyone like me that looked like me. So I was starting to know my place, particularly in classrooms. The thing about Amy was that she loves to get into people's business. She loves it. She knows everything. Amy Rogers at Pace University knew everything about everyone. She knew the gossip. She knew who was sleeping with who was doing this, who was booking what every single song that you had, what you were working on, every single thing that you can possibly know about a person, Amy knew. And going in as a student and setting up this relationship with her, which was weird in itself, but I had never had an adult like that, outside of my parents, who had known so much about me personally, what my fears, my goals, my strengths, my sexuality, and that was a huge thing because I had finally come out to my dad my sophomore year, and I had lost a lot of weight, so I was like feeling good, and she knew that. She knew everything, and that was strange for me. That was weird that the professor of the program should know all of their students. That's important, to know them as humans. But it was such at a deep personal level that I was kind of like, she knows everything. She knows everything. This is great. I can talk to her about anything, which I would regret later. My sophomore year, I had found myself in love with a closeted man. And I'll call it love because that's what I thought it was at the time, but going back, that was not love. But at the time, it was deep, it was beautiful, it was sad. And this is a friendship that I had with a friend who we were so close. We had relied on each other emotionally. And there was this deep connection that he did not necessarily feel back. And he knew that. And we had all spent a summer in Maine together, and she knew how I felt about him. We had talked about him, but the thing was that this really sad part about this student's story is that it was like every single person's job in that school, even the teachers, was to make him come out. It was like, we need to get him to come out. That is a thing. And they would throw around these things like gay by May, and which was so harmful. But that was the goal, to get this student out, and that was it. And I did not care for that because all I did was love him. All I wanted him to do was to just trust me enough to be with me. Everyone knew that. And that was the gag. That was it. That was the gag about it all. Everyone knew. Every single person knew. They'd be like, oh, you're hanging out with this person. Oh, okay. I'm like, we're just going to get pizza. Calm down. But that was a huge thing. I felt like it was on everyone's mind. Every single person's mind. And how harmful that must have been for him to go through, to find that. Now, Amy knew this. Amy knew that I was head over heels. We had talked about it many times. We're in class, sophomore year, and I had gotten the song, I Am the One from Next Normal. And that day we were doing partners. And we had to improv a scene. So Amy looks over and she sees this closeted student and I, and she calls us both. She's like, okay, you guys go up. And she says, Brandon, you're gonna do your song to each other. Now, let's just like improv a scene. Okay, so you guys are in a relationship. You guys are partners. And Brandon, you're gonna be in the apartment. Okay, and you, to the student, you're gonna come in and you guys have been partners for years. You're gonna come in and find a way to break up with him. And you're gonna break up with him and you guys are gonna improv this scene. And then the song's gonna start. And you guys will just go with it. And I'm just like, okay, sure. And everyone in the class, like when they called on both of our names and everyone knew what song I was doing, everyone just kind of froze and like, it was like time stood still. So I'm up there, I'm like, okay, we'll play partners, that's fine. And the scene starts and we're in this relationship and he breaks up with me and the song starts. And I'm the One from Next Normal is about this partnership, about this relationship. This is usually a husband and a wife. About the frustration it is when someone doesn't want to reach out to you or connect with you. It's about rebuilding something that they once had. It's about a rekindle of your emotional, your mental, your physical bond. And there are lyrics like, can you tell me what it is you're afraid of? Can you tell me why I'm afraid it's me? Can I touch you? We've been fine for so long now. How could something go wrong that I can't see? Because I'm holding on and I won't let go. I just want you to know, I am the one who loves you. I am the one who cares. I am the one who's always been there. I am the one who needs you. And if you think that I just don't give a damn, then you just don't know who I am. And it goes on, but I'm standing there in the middle of the song, screaming this to the man that I was head over heels for, screaming, crying, pounding his chest, like asking him. She was like, more. And I just like, we saw her on the side, just like leaning on her desk and just like on the table and more, something. And I'm pounding at his chest. And I'm making him like, love me. Yeah. Like, this is who I am. And the song ends, and I'm standing there. And it's just like, it's like 12 hours passed, and it's like 10 seconds passed. And there, you can hear a pin drop. Even our accompanist was like, silent. And it was just, you could suck the air out of the room. And she goes, okay, good. Remember, this is my song. This is my assignment. This is my song. And she goes, okay, good. She turns to the others and she goes, so how did that feel for you? What was that for you? And I'm just standing there like, what did I just do? Was my body and was like the love that I gave used as another teaching tool for a white student? I keep on thinking that the only thing that keeps on going to my mind was like, all I did was love him. And I'm standing there having used my love as a weapon to help him come out. And we all just like stood there as he like replied. And I just was in shock. And she asked me, she was like, okay, great job, Brandon. How did that feel for you? Like, as it was an afterthought. And I was like, good. And I sit down and everyone is like around me and they're just like, grab my hand. You know, so like they tell me with their eyes it's okay. And I just sit there and I'm just like, I need to go to the bathroom. And I sat in the stall and I just cried, man. I just cried. I felt so used. You know, like, I know as teachers, you know, you use things, you use adversity or anything that you go through as a human to inflect and affect the work that you do. That's honest work, it's truthful, but this was something sinister. This is something I had no control over. And I sat in a bathroom stall the rest of class crying. I had my friend grab my stuff. I went home, and later that night, I grabbed a whole pizza, a large pizza from Charlie's downtown, and I sat in Battery Park and I ate it all by myself. And I just felt like such a child. And I also I felt so bad for him too. Like, who does that? Who does that? So, it's like, why am I here? Why am I at this school? What am I learning? What is this doing for me? But what I did learn was that his journey was more important than mine. I still think about that. And you know what the crazy part about this is? Is that I took Amy out of the narrative. I took her out. And I would see classmates of mine, I'm like, remember when I had to sing that song to him? And it was crazy and I was shot. It was like wild. I forgot that Amy turned around and she did that. She made me do that. She gave us that scenario. She could have made us brothers. She could have made us best friends. Amy did that, and I took that out of the narrative, and that was hard, because I think he's a great human, and I'm very proud of his journey. So that sucks on all parts. It sucks for me. It sucks for him. What did I learn from that? That's a question I keep asking myself. I just feel like I want to give him a hug. Like, I want to give him a hug, sure, but when I say him, I mean the 19-year-old me who had just came out to his dad, who was like experiencing love for the first time and had to do this in front of his classmates, in front of 20-something people. And I just want to give him a hug. I just want to tell him things like, you know, you're okay, like you're okay. You don't need to eat your feelings. You don't need to. That was also something too that just dropped in. I just went to old habits and it was, I want to give him a hug so bad. My 19-year-old self, and say that it's going to be okay. And he will be okay, and you will also be okay. Fuck, man. I think it's sinister. when a queer person uses someone else's queerness as a weapon. They use it and they know it and they use it as a tool to get deeper in them, to know them more. Like, it's just because we share a queerness, just because we're gay, doesn't mean we face the same adversity. And she thought, I guess she was trying to find something, but wow, what a way to fucking do it. So after realizing that the weaponization of who I was being used against me and was being used against the other students at Pace who were Black, Indigenous people of color, I wanted to do everything in my power to get out of there. I wanted to go further. I wanted to experience something that was not Pace University. And knowing that my body was a tool for white students, again, made me just so angry, but it lit this fire in me that fuels me, was that I need to work harder than my white counterparts. I need to self-reflect. I need to do anything that I can do to arm myself, protect myself, so that when opportunity came, I was ready. And when it did come, she was standing in my way. I had fallen in love with the musical In the Heights. I had seen, the first time I'd seen the show was at the Tony Awards, and I was like, I need to be in that show. I'm going to be in that show. That is it. End story, period. So during that same year, sophomore year, I made it a point to audition for any open call, course call, any other show, any really show that got me out of Pace. Anything that could just make me work and to make me learn that was not in school, because I felt unsafe. And finally, there was an audition coming up for In the Heights. And it was during a class of mine. So you have to ask permission to leave class, to audition for projects like that. So I go to her office. I go to Amy's office and I talk to her about, like, hey, In the Heights is auditioning. I mean, clearly it's a perfect fit for me. I really want to miss this class. I just want to make sure it's okay. And me thinking that it's clearly a great show for me, I was gonna be no problem. She goes, I'm not gonna allow you to do that. And I was like, okay, why? She goes, because you're not good enough. She said that to me. She said, point blank, she was like, I don't want you to audition for this because you're not good enough. And then what's that gonna look like? How's that gonna showcase you going in for them again? Or how that's gonna look on your teachings here? You're not good enough. I can't allow you permission to cut that class. I was like, oh, okay, heard, got it. I left, and then I still auditioned for the fucking show. And good thing I did, because I got a call back. Sorry, it tickles me. I got a call back to the show, and that was over some time. And then by the summer, I'd gotten another call back later on to dance. And then finally, I had found myself in a position to be in the first national tour of In the Heights as a swing and understudy. What? So I was so excited. I mean, it was my dream show. It was everything. It was my family's dream show. That was a huge thing too, because we had all seen it for my birthday. It was so important to us. They were so excited. I had auditioned in the summer before my junior year. And it was like a huge day of a celebration. I had surprised them that I got the role. They were worried all day after I had gone to my final callback. I come back and I surprise them, I got the role. And they're just are all crying. My mom, my dad, and my sister are crying. We're so excited. I got the role. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be in the Heights first national tour. There's no possible way that I can do 18 credits right now and swing a show for the first time in my entire career. So I was like, I need to tell Amy. I need to tell Amy. Maybe I'll take a leave. People had been doing that. People had been taking leaves. People like drop out, then come back years later in the program, or they do classes online. They take a leave for a semester, and then they come back. So I was like, oh, this is great. So the entire night, my family and I are all on speakerphone calling everyone that we love, like, hey, I booked in the Heights. And then it's like this big, big, big celebration every single time, every single call. Finally, the last one is like one of the last ones is Amy. And I call her and I'm like, Amy, and my family's like all huddled around. And I was like, well, guess what? I booked it. I booked in the Heights, the first national tour. And like, we're all like, and there was like silence. She's like, oh, okay. And I was like, isn't this great? And she's like, yeah, that's great. So Brandon, here's the thing. I kind of don't believe you. And I'm sitting there like mortified. My family's around. They're like listening. They're like, all of us are just, what? And I just like take it off speakerphone and I have a conversation with her. She's like, yeah, Brandon, I kind of don't believe you that you booked this. What are you doing again? I was like, I'm going to be the swing. She's like, have you ever swung before? I was like, no. She's like, okay. And I was like, well, I wanted to tell you because I wanted to take a leave this semester just because I don't think I can swing these roles and also do this, And she's like, yeah, Brandon, I don't believe you. So I'm going to need you to send your contract to me just so you can prove it to me. And I had to email her my contract. And I didn't have an agent, so this was me talking to the company management, talking to the producers like about what I was getting paid. So before my parents even knew what I was getting paid and what my contract was, I was emailing Amy my contract to prove to her that I had booked a job. I was so confused. Like, is this normal? Like, first of all, she said I didn't believe you. I'm like, am I a liar? Am I still not talented enough? Like, I'm telling you I booked it. So after this whole In the Heights Amy debacle, sending my contract over, still unpacking this years later, I'm long graduated by now. And I'm so curious because remember that golden boy, Stone, he had also went on tour during his collegiate year. He had left his senior year, he had done tour, and I was like, I'm learning all this and unpacking all this. I shot him a text and I said, hey, did you ever have to send Amy your contract when you went on tour? No, he never had to. Cool. I finally get back, officially. Baby, the doors opened. The keepers of the gate swung open that door, and I was Brandon Contreras from In the Heights First National Tour. Brandon, what do you need? How was it? How was it? I was like, oh my God, you went to Puerto Rico. Do you know Lynn? Like, do you have any more projects? Like, that's what it became. And I wasn't noticed until I had notoriety. I had, if that's what you call it, until I had a project under my belt, until I knew people, until she deemed me someone. So with senior year here, Showcase, we are branding ourselves. We are formulating who we want the outside world to perceive us as, what our roles will be, who we are. And Amy hires a business of acting coach. And we're going through class and I'm sitting there and we're going over brand colors that day. And I wore white, I wore blues because I wanted to be a leading man. And I thought, And I was told that if you wanted to be the Prince Erics in Little Mermaids of the world, you had to wear white shirts and crisp jeans that show off your legs. And it's just wild. The things that we're fed in higher education based on our industry. So here I am picking a color of what my resume is gonna look like for the world to see. So I'm sitting there with my business of acting coach. And I was like, well, my colors are blue and white and gray. Those are my colors. That's what I identify with. I love them. She sits there, she's like, okay. I'm really feeling purple for you. I'm really feeling purple for you. And I was like, why? I don't ever wear purple. I think my colors are blue and white. She's like, I don't know what it is. I sat there for a second. I looked at her and I said, oh, you mean like the sharks in West Side Story? Ah, yes, that's it. This person was hired by Amy Rogers. This is a person who has control over how we perceive ourselves and how others perceive us. A white person. Sure, I'll wear purple. I signed on because that's what I thought was gonna help me get to where I wanted to go if I just played the game. When I was at Pace University, it was established to me that the only way that you could be this leading man, this romantic lead, was if you really looked at the people who were getting these roles and the world around us. And all of them had blown out hair and beautiful locks. And I was taught that that was what I had to do. I kept my hair short. I gelled it into submission. Not one person was going to see my curly hair. Not one person. I graduated and I thought like, okay, great. I'm going in for this role. Wow, leading man sides. What the fuck do I do with this? Well, I'm shaking. What do I do with this? Okay, so if I straighten my hair in the morning, I have time to do this. I really didn't know what kind of a number that did to me. Because I love my hair. I love where I'm from. I love my mother who gave me this hair. And I would just, I just would use it and I would hide it because I was afraid that, and I was taught that this was not the object of beauty. That this was not the hair you get leading romantic roles with. And it's taken me until these past few years to really embrace my curls and to find the tools for myself that I was not given because of a white faculty. I did not know that these things were wrong. They did not know how to handle me. They didn't know what to do with me. I was being raised like a pig to be their Latin boy that would graduate and be the Latin boy at Pace University. And I signed up for that. And I was, okay, I'll do that. Because at least I had some power there. I had gotten past the gates. I was loved and accepted by the heads of these programs, and I that was it. I had it. So I signed up for that, and I did not. I did not know the damage it would have done. I feel like I left school, aside from senior year, because senior year was a personal growth that was single-handedly because of a few people. Bob Klein, Jen Littlefield, Stephanie Layton, Mark Pfeiffer. That they're the only people that really saw me as faculty. Only people. They were white, all white. Only people. And that was my senior year. That was my PACE experience. I always say that those hundreds of thousands of dollars I paid for my education for my senior year. Just for that. That's a lot of fucking money. And I realized that the only reason why I was a favorite or why I got any attention now was because I booked. I had started a career and it was growing. And she wanted that. That was it. I was not noticed at all until I finally had projects on my plate. That's the only time I ever felt seen by Amy. I felt like a tool all over again. And now, realizing the silence that I put on myself and the things that I went through, and the manipulation, that's something that's going to take a while to forgive myself for. It's like I paid all of this money to be traumatized years later. I'm 30 years old. I'm still crying about this. I'm still talking to my friends about this. I have Latine undergrads. I mean, people that I did not even go to school with, looking up to me and coming out to me and reaching out to me about their experience and what was it like for me. I am out of school. I'm in my career already. I'm in the prime of my career already, and I'm still going through this. What did I pay for? What did I pay for? And years later, they did City of Angels again in 2018. And they have their own mess with that reason. But I remember seeing Amy before the show was put up. And I was like, Amy, now I know better. So I was like, Amy, why are you doing this? She's like, I know, we're gonna fix it. So, 2 things. You know something's wrong with that show. You know something's up with the racism, with the character of Munoz. Because I went to her about it. So it's like, I know, we're gonna fix it. We got this. I know, crazy rights thing, but we're doing it. I was like, okay, I'll be glad to see how you changed it because it's not working, or whatever you did to do to talk to the estate. I go to see the show. Nothing has changed. It's the same BS. And I have an incredibly talented actress playing the role of Lieutenant Munoz, singing it, doing it. And I know how she feels. We've talked about this. And after the show, she comes up to me and she goes, so what did you think? I was like, nothing changed. I didn't see any changes. It was still incredibly offensive. And she's walking away, like not even stopping. It's like a moving. She's like, she's gone, like a flash. Cool. And it's hard talking about this as a non-Black, Indigenous person of color. That all these stories that I've said, this entire time, I felt like an imposter. Are my stories worthy enough? Are they wrong? Are they right? It's not that big of a deal, or that's nothing. We've all been through it. Or people from all these other programs are like, yeah, I went through that, so what? Like, we just signed up for it. The pain that I'm still dealing with and that we're all still dealing with as non-Black, Indigenous people of color are still valid. They still happen to us. There's still stories that are important. And we can still uplift other stories. And we need to, we must. But these stories are also very important. So if stories like mine, doing these racist shows, being given racist material, giving material known for Latinx stereotypes and indigenous stereotypes still happened when I did it, and it's still happening in 2018, we got a problem. I have to show up. And I'm wondering where you are. Amy, where are you? And this comes from someone who has shown, out of all the harm that I've talked about here, out of all of the harm that I've said you've done and faculty has done and white students have done, if you love us, where are you? Because we're still going through it. I'm 30 years old. Your check is cashed. You're gone. Your program's up. I'm still dealing this with my friends. I'm still holding my friends crying about the things that they're going through now because of college. Where are you? Through this entire time, all I've been thinking about is my family. You know, my parents taking out loans, myself taking out loans, going through incredible debt to go to a college experience that harmed me in such a way I'm still dealing with it as an adult. And they don't really know all of these stories. So this is really a love letter from me to them. To tell them that I'm doing this for them. That I'm gonna be okay. They did not want their child to go through any of this. They did not want their boy, who had this big dream to going back to New York City to do theater, to be treated this way at a school they paid so much money for. We sacrificed so much. And my sister, who did not go to school for theater because we could not afford it. And I went. It was me, I went. I followed my dream. At what cost, though? At what cost? I think about her all the time. This moment is not about me. It's not about any of us individually. We're here because we have something important to say, and it can't be unsaid. The door's open. It's done. It's not about reformation. It's about abolition. It's time. The way I coped with the treatment that I got at Pace University was very strange. Remember, I was very large. I was about 110 pounds heavier than I am now, and a lot of my coping came from eating, and it came from my issues with body dysmorphia, and that if I was sad, I would eat, and it's still an issue that I deal with today, eating, body dysmorphia, and using food as a coping mechanism. So my time at Pace was very difficult to manage my self-care and my self-harm for what I thought I needed to look like or who I wanted to become in their eyes. And that's how I coped with it. It was escapism. It just kind of left me, and because it wasn't talking about, because it wasn't talked about, it was kind of out of sight, out of mind. I didn't have any Latina people to talk to about specifically this experience, And my friends, a lot of my friends were white because that was my class. The people of color we were all just collectively trying to make it, trying to claw at anything, grasp at anything, claw at each other, do anything to get to the top, which was approval, which was accolades, which was behind the gates. That's how I coped. To the people who harmed me, you are not fit to do your job anymore. You were not fit to do your job then. And I don't know if you're fit to do your job now. And to Amy, the head and creator of Pace University's musical theater program. With great power comes great responsibility. You were and are irresponsible with your actions towards Black, brown, Indigenous people of color. Thank you for your service. You're done. It feels nice to finish this, to be done with this chapter, the release, the let go. I feel like I was holding a lot of this in. And I'm forever healing. That doesn't stop. But my journey here is done with Pace. It's done. I've spoken the monster's name. Everything from how I'm perceived in a room to what color I should wear if I want to go into an audition. My hair, I'm particularly proud of this. Only way out is up.